Hi everyone, today's story has very amazing story. So don't waste the time. Let's go to the video.
Hello everyone, my name is David. Today we are going to take a look at another real story with you. Usually in cases of assault or in many countries there is a law that the victim or their family's identity or face cannot be revealed. And almost everywhere in the world, out of basic humanity, it is considered that the identity of victims should not be disclosed. Because it is said that if someone's life is taken, a murder ends a person's life in a single moment. But when a woman's dignity is violated, she dies every day for as long as she lives, along with her family. This story is about a woman who challenged all the laws. It took her time to convince the judge, but in the end, she won. And what was her demand? In the middle of the courtroom, she told the judge that her face should not be hidden in the media, that every newspaper and every news channel should show her picture, and that the evidence of what happened to her should be shown in the media and to the public so people could see what she went through. Here is a woman, a wife, who is demanding through the law that for 9 years, around 70 men violated her dignity and even recorded her in videos. She wants to spread her picture and videos because she wants people to see them so that women all over the world can learn a lesson from her case. In the end, she wins. The court grants permission, and then she tells the media and others that they can look at the evidence. Imagine a rape victim who fought in court to make her pictures, her identity, and even her videos public. And she won. This is the story of France. In a small town called Mazan, there lived a couple. The husband's name was Dominique, and his wife was Giselle. They married in 1973, and after marriage, they had 3 children. Life was going on fairly well. Dominique worked in a fire brigade company while his wife was a manager in another company. Their life seemed stable and ordinary. From their marriage in 1973, time passed, and slowly the years went by until it was 2020. Behind this picture of a normal family, however, a shocking reality was hidden, one that would later come out in court and capture the attention of the entire nation. By 2020, Giselle was about 63 years old. She and Dominique had married back in 1973, and after marriage they had 3 children. Giselle worked as a manager in a multinational company, and their married life had been going very well. The home was filled with happiness, the children were content with their parents, and the couple shared a strong bond with each other. Slowly the years passed, and now it was 2020, almost 37 years since their wedding. Giselle had grown into a 63-year-old woman, while her husband, Dominique, was about 65. They had grown old together, watching their children grow, building a life that seemed steady and ordinary. But everything changed on September 12, 2020. This was the date that would mark a turning point in their lives, and reveal a truth that had been hidden for years. In the same town of Mazan, France, Dominique went to a supermarket to do some shopping. Suddenly, a woman there made a complaint, and the supermarket employees came over, followed by the police being called. When the police arrived, they checked Dominique's mobile phone, and discovered that he had been secretly taking pictures of the woman. At the age of 65, he was caught red-handed. The police examined his phone and found that the angles of the photos he was taking were inappropriate and obscene, images that should never have been taken. But when the officers decided to dig deeper into his phone, what they uncovered shocked them. Inside Dominique's mobile were countless obscene photos and videos, far beyond what anyone could have expected. The police began to suspect that something was seriously wrong. They took Dominique to his house, and once there, they conducted a thorough search. During the search, they discovered multiple cameras, numerous videotapes, CDs, and pen drives. When all of these were collected and analyzed, the findings were shocking. From Dominique's home, the authorities uncovered around 20,000 obscene files. On his computer, he had organized these into specific folders, each with disturbing titles. One was called Abuse, another Rape, and a third Night Alone. Along with these, they also found a pen drive containing similar content. Inside the devices were countless pictures and nearly 20,000 videos. But the police were truly shocked when they realized that many of these videos featured Dominique's own wife, Giselle. The officers were stunned. What kind of case was this? A husband secretly filming obscene videos of his own wife, storing them alongside other disturbing content. From the search of the house, the discovery of such a large number of explicit videos, many of them of his own spouse, left the investigators baffled. They were trying to piece together the truth, but could not yet fully understand what was going on. All of this had first come to light on September 12th. Then, on November 2nd, 2020, the police summoned Giselle to the station. The police called Giselle in and asked her about the videos they had found in her home. They showed her some of them, and she could not believe what she was seeing. Shocked, she demanded to see more. When she watched, she was horrified. The videos had been secretly recorded for nearly 10 years. The first recording dated back to 2011, and by 2020, the truth finally came out. In some of these, her own husband was arranging for her to be raped while he filmed it. The police themselves could hardly believe that Giselle had no idea such videos existed. She insisted she knew nothing. To verify, investigators had all the footage examined by experts. Reviewing each video, it became clear that Giselle often appeared unconscious, in deep sleep, or not in full control of her senses. This raised even more suspicion for the police. They then interrogated Dominique, and the story he told left not just the officers, but the entire world stunned. Even today, as I recount this, France is witnessing a huge movement. Many women's organizations across the country have been raising their voices about this case. But before that, let's look at the story Dominique himself gave to the police. Since his wife was present in nearly all the videos, Dominique then confessed that in 2011, one day, he suddenly thought to himself, since he was already secretly taking obscene photos and videos here and there, why not make videos of his own wife? But he didn't want to film her in a straightforward, consensual way. Instead, he wanted her to be forced, assaulted, and then record those acts. That dark idea began to grow in his mind. So he searched online and eventually found an app called Game. Through that platform, he began contacting strangers and offering them opportunities. His offer was shocking. If someone wanted to commit rape, they could come to his house. But he laid down certain conditions. When they arrived, they first had to wash their hands with hot water. They were not allowed to bring in perfumes, cigarettes, or any strong scents that could alert his wife. And absolutely no personal cameras or recording devices were allowed inside the room or the house. Everything would be recorded only by Dominique himself. And so men would come, his wife, Dominique, would film it, and then the men would leave. This horrifying cycle continued from 2011 until 2020. Now the question was, how could Giselle not know this was happening for 9 long years? The reason was chilling. Before starting this cycle, Dominique had done research on how to keep his wife in a semi-unconscious state. He discovered certain tricks that could sedate her just enough so that she wouldn't wake up or realize what was happening. He used these tricks repeatedly to keep her unaware while strangers violated her, as he stood by, recording every moment. These were the kinds of drugs that could render a person unconscious for several hours. Dominique began secretly giving them to his wife, sometimes mixed into her food, other times into her drinks. The drug would take effect for a few hours, keeping her unaware. Slowly, this became a routine. Whenever he planned to bring strangers into the house, he would first trick his wife. At first, Giselle never realized what was happening. She simply thought she was unusually tired. But over time, Dominique increased the dosage so much that she began to feel drowsy almost all the time. She often complained of constant sleepiness, sometimes unable to remember what had happened the previous evening or even that same morning. She began to suspect that she might be suffering from some illness, perhaps a memory problem or some neurological condition. Not once did she imagine that something sinister was happening to her. She had no idea she was being no idea that while she lay unconscious, strangers were assaulting her and her husband was filming it. For years this continued. Through that same act, Dominique kept inviting men into his home to his wife. When investigators finally uncovered the list of perpetrators, it was staggering. Among them were truck drivers, army personnel, firefighters, security guards, laborers, electricians, farmers, supermarket employees, journalists, unemployed men, and even some with criminal backgrounds. They came from every walk of life, from as young as 20 years old to as old as 70. Dominique had handpicked them all and brought them to his home to violate his wife, while she remained unaware under the influence of drugs. He kept drugging his wife, arranging for her to be raped, and recording the assaults on video. Just think about it. This went on for nearly a decade. If Dominique's phone hadn't been confiscated that day at the supermarket, if that woman hadn't complained, no one would have ever known what this elderly husband was doing to his own wife behind closed doors. Once everything came to light, the police used the videos to start identifying the men involved. From the footage, they compiled a list that revealed around 70 different faces, some of whom appeared multiple times. Out of these, about 50 suspects were eventually identified, while 20 remained unrecognizable or untraceable. By December 2020, the legal proceedings officially began. These 50 men were now facing charges ranging from rape, attempted, and sexual assault. The moment this story hit the media, that a husband had arranged for more than 70 men to rape his wife while he filmed everything. France was thrown into outrage. Protests and debates erupted across the country, but that was only the beginning. The real shock came when Giselle herself stepped into the courtroom and the trial began. In front of the court, Giselle declared that she would not hide her face. She wanted the world to see her. She demanded that all the videos her husband had secretly filmed be made public, handed over to the media, and shown openly so that people could learn a lesson from her case. The judge himself was initially unsure of what verdict to give in such an extraordinary demand, but Giselle fought relentlessly. Finally, the court agreed. The trial continued, and on December 19th, the verdict was delivered. Out of the 50 men on trial, 46 were sentenced to between 18 and 20 years in prison. 2 others received 3-year sentences, and 2 were sentenced to 7 years. The harshest punishment, 20 years, was given to Dominique, Giselle's own husband, when the truth came out in 2020, and by the time the videos were shown to Giselle at the police station on November 2nd, she had already made up her mind. Before December, she divorced Dominique, ending nearly 5 decades of marriage. Yet she continued to fight in court. For 3 long months, she attended every hearing, reliving the horror, determined not just to seek justice for herself, but to set an example for women everywhere. And when the verdict was finally announced, Giselle came forward once again, standing tall despite her age, and said that her pain should become a lesson for the world, that no woman should ever have to suffer in silence the way she did. She said that her victory was not just her own, it was a victory for women everywhere, because when crimes like this are hidden or suppressed, it only strengthens the abuser. She came forward despite the deep pain it caused her, because she wanted to send a message to the world. Women's organizations across the globe supported Giselle. From Austria, she was even sent a special scarf as a symbol of her strength, and she wore it proudly on the day of the verdict. The judgment had been delivered, and people everywhere praised Giselle's courage. But one question continued to haunt everyone. How could a husband do this to his wife? A husband who was considered a loving family man. Dominique was known to care deeply for his children. He would take them to football matches, organize surprise birthday parties, and even his grandchildren and their friends admired him as an ideal family man. Outwardly, he was everything one would expect of a caring husband and father, so why did he commit such monstrous acts? When Dominique was fully evaluated, it was revealed that he suffered from a psychological disorder, split personality, also known as dissociative identity disorder, a condition where one man lives with 2 sides. On one side, he appeared perfectly normal, devoted to his family, caring for his wife, children, and grandchildren. But the other side of him was dark, a criminal persona that craved power, violence, and control. Whenever that side emerged, he no longer thought like a husband or father. Instead, his mind became consumed with these horrific desires. This dual nature, one man with 2 completely different faces, was the chilling explanation for how Dominique could live as both a respectable family man and a predator. He obsessed over the idea of thinking constantly about how it happens and how he could capture it on camera. Under the grip of his split personality, he one day decided that if he tried to do this outside with strangers, he might get caught. But if he involved his wife, he could keep it hidden. That was the terrifying moment when he chose to make his own wife the victim. Imagine more than 70 different men from every profession imaginable were brought into this plan. During the trial, several of the accused tried to defend themselves by claiming that Dominique had threatened them, forcing them to his wife. But the videos told a different story. In none of them did Giselle appear conscious, and in none did the men act as if they were unwilling participants. Judges pointed out that if these men had truly been threatened, they had every opportunity to go to the police after leaving Dominique's house. Why did none of them file a complaint? In court, Dominique openly admitted his guilt from the very first hearing. He confessed that he alone was responsible, that he had orchestrated the rapes of his wife, and that no one had been forced into it. He accepted his punishment and pleaded guilty. The court concluded the same. None of the men appears to have been coerced, since they could easily have gone to the police afterward, but chose not to. This made the scale of the crime even more horrifying, proving that dozens of men willingly took part in exploiting an unconscious woman while her husband filmed.
So, this was today's story. I hope like this. So, like the video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. So, bye bye.